Hey y'all, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do these summer nails. So get your pen and paper and let's lock in.
Only because you ain't here.
So in today's video, I found a Pinterest inspired summer nail set. This is not a nail set I created, but just for the sake of summer theme and the fact that I wanted to show you guys how to do 3D flowers, this was a perfect set for me to pick. And if I can find the actual person who made the nail set, I will definitely tag them. First things first, when you are doing nails, it is mandatory to push those cuticles back. You would do this so there's no skin on the natural nail, and also this can help your retention. Now I'm going to start filing the surface of the nail with an 80/80 drill bit. Now if you are a beginner, I do recommend you use a lower grit like 100/100 or 180 because you do not want to damage the layer of your client's natural nail. But I definitely think with an 80/80 drill bit, you can get more scratches and have the acrylic actually stick to the nail. So I'm going to do this to all 10 of the nails, making sure I see no shine on the natural nail. Then I'm going to go in with my cuticle cutter, and I'm only cutting the lifted dead skin. And if you are a beginner, I do recommend you keep practicing cutting cuticles because it does get easier as you go. I'm going to go ahead and start sticking the nail tips. So I use these nail tips that I got from Amazon, and then I have KDS glue, and I also got that from Amazon. When you are sizing your nail tips to your client's natural nail, you want to make sure that it fits sidewall to sidewall, so the nail is not too little or it's not too big. When gluing the tips, I do put the nail glue on the back of the nail tip, and then I stick it to the natural nail. You're going to do this to all 10 of your nails, making sure that no nail is crooked. Now I'll be going in with my tip cutter, and I put magnets on the end of it just so I can make sure that all the nails are the same length. So for this nail set, I have used 4 magnets, and this is the longest medium. When cutting your nail tip, you want to make sure your nail tip cutter is straight when you cut it, or you're going to have different length nails. Now I'm going to go back in with my 80/80 drill bit, and I'm just going to blend the nail tip with the natural nail. Make sure you're going on a slow speed and you're not actually staying on the natural nail too long because it will burn your client. After I sand the nail tip with the natural nail, I'm going to go in with my 80/80 nail file, and I'm just going to be filing the sidewalls, making sure the nail tips aren't sticking out. I'm also going to be shaping it into a square nail shape, and you want to just go up and down, making sure your file does not turn diagonal. Just place your nail file on the sidewall and go up and down until it's straight. So if you want a sharp free edge, you just want to place your drill bit on the middle of your nail tip and kind of make a little dent, and then you're just going to create a smile line so you can have a sharp C curve at the end of your nail. When you do this, you really don't want to touch the points on the sides because you will dull the nail. So just make that smile line as deep as you want. Now I'm going in with my dehydrator. This is just acetone and alcohol mix. This is going to remove all the oils that's on the natural nail. Now I'm going in with my Mia Secret Extra Bond. This is a primer, and I'm just going to put this on all of the nails. Now I'll be going with my Young Nails Protein Bond, and I'm just going to put this on all of the nails. Now we're going to go ahead and start our application. I'm using Baby Boomer from Too Cute Nail Supply. But before I start, I'm going to get my Mia Secret Clear Acrylic Powder, and I'm just going to put a small bead on the surface of the natural nail. I put clear acrylic on the natural nail just so my primer won't dry out. If you do this step, it would really help your retention if you have problems with lifting. And then I'm going in with a dark shade gel polish, and I'm going to put a couple of drops in my monomer just so I can make my acrylic powder a little bit darker. So I'm going in with a medium bead, and I'm just putting this where the nail tip meets the natural nail, and I'm just going to pat this down. You want to keep pushing your bead in the middle if you see it slipping over to the sides, and you're just going to continuously pat it down. And you're also going to swipe the sides of your nails just to make sure your acrylic is falling into that square shape. Once your bead starts to set and it's not really runny anymore, you can go ahead and start swiping the nail just to make sure the nail is on the same level. Then I'm just going to get my finger and take the excess acrylic off of the free edge. Now we're going in with another medium-sized bead. I'm going to put this bead right on top of the first bead that I placed, and I'm just going to push it up into the cuticle. But you want to make sure you see a little bit of the natural nail. You want to make sure you're not flooding the cuticle. I'm going to swipe the sidewalls just to make sure that there's no acrylic, and I'm going to continue to pat the acrylic down. And once I see my beads start to set, I'm going to go ahead and start swiping the whole nail. Always remember to swipe the sides of the nail so you can keep your shape. Again, I'm going to go ahead and take the excess acrylic off of the free edge. Then I'm going to go ahead and add a cover-up bead, and this is just to take that dip that I had seen out of the nails. And now I'm going to do one with a closer angle so you guys can really see how I lay the acrylic. So I'm going to get a medium bead, and I'm going to place the bead where the natural nail meets the nail tip. Once you see that acrylic start to run over to the sides, you're going to go ahead and just place it back to the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and pat that down, making sure there's no acrylic in my sidewalls. Once you see the acrylic starting to dry, you want to go ahead and swipe on the nail. And again, always remember to swipe your sides just to make sure the acrylic is forming into your square shape. Then I'm going to take the excess acrylic off with my thumb. Now I'm going in with my second bead, and I'm going to place this right on top of that first bead, and I'm going to push it up into the cuticle area, but make sure you can still see a little bit of that natural nail. Now I'm just patting the acrylic into the sidewalls, and I'm also making sure I do not flood my sidewalls. I'm going to keep patting this down, making sure I'm not dragging the acrylic. Then I'm going to go ahead and take the excess off of the nail. Now I'm going to place a small cover bead on top of the little bump that I see, just so I can level out the nails. Now I'm just going to pat this down and then pat it into my sidewalls and the cuticle. Now I'm going to go ahead and start swiping the nail, and then I'm going to take the excess acrylic off of the free edge. Now, keeping that all in mind, I'm going to let you guys just go ahead and watch the rest of the application, and then we're going to go ahead with the shaping. Once I'm done with the application and it's smooth and I love it, I'm going to go ahead and with my 80/80 nail grit file, and I'm just going to place it on the side of the sidewalls and just go up and down. You do not want to turn your file diagonal because you're going to mess up the shape. And please make sure you're picking up your file when you are filing because you can burn or cut your client. So just make sure you're not putting that much pressure. After I'm done filing, I'm going with my 5-in-1 drill bit from Pana. You can get this drill bit from Amazon, but on the free edge of the nail, I'm just going to go up and down until I see that the nail is smooth. Then I'm going to go around the cuticle in a circular motion. I'm going to go sidewall to sidewall. And also you want to make sure you're not putting too much pressure and you're not repeatedly filing the same area. Just make sure your nail is smooth and there's no product in the cuticles and the sidewalls. So again, on this nail, I'm going to just go up and down on the nail just to make sure the nail is smooth. Then I'm going to start by the sidewall and then go in a circular motion to the other sidewall. And I'm just making sure there's no product in any of the sidewalls or cuticles. Then I'm just going to go under the nail with my drill bit, and this is just to make sure there's no acrylic under. So just keep all of that in mind, and I'm going to let y'all see the other two nails.
What you just started. Me and my bitch go naughty. Give a fuck about this party. We gon' step on she regardless. Get my goonies, swipe that bitch, and now the spirit to charge. Making moves, being on bitches, I be really march. I got hands for a hoe. I get bands for a show. He want chance after chance after chance, nigga, no. I keep saying free little folk. Do my dance on them folks. If it's up, it's going down soon as I land on them folks. Do what I want, I'm pressure. Don't follow the rules, I'm rebel. No, I stand out, bitch, I'm special. I'm stand up, bitch, like Kevin. Oh, God. You a bum ass bitch, you messy. Don't stall me, bitch, I'm petty. Line in the bitch up, I'm ready. I don't pick and choose, it's up with whoever. All my diamonds hurt. And all these members.
Now I turned her nails facing me just so I can see that smile line and make sure it's actually straight. You can put this as deep as you want it. Just make sure all of your nails are still the same length. You don't want to file too much on the free edge and then you have a shorter nail. And also you want to make sure you're not actually touching the points on the end of the nail because you will dull the nails.
Make you mine, but I can make you come. Freak up in the sheets, in them streets, baby, I'm a thug. I just threw 10,000 something ones.
So go ahead and dust all of the dust off of the nails, and you're gonna go ahead and with your matte top coat, and you're gonna start putting the top coat on the free edge of the nails. You want to make sure you do a really thin layer. I do this step so when I paint my Frenches, the polish isn't going in like none of the scratches. Now I'm just going to wipe the side of the nail with my finger, and this is just to make sure that none of the polish is dripping off and ruining my shape. So now I'll be going in with this orange from Dynamic Nail Supply, and I'm going to start my Frenches. So first I like to draw a diagonal line, but I like to make sure that diagonal line, the end of the line does not come in the middle of the nail, it's off to the side. I do this just to make sure my French tips are not too little or they're not really thin. So once I made my two lines, now I'm just going to start a smile line, and you just want to bring this line as low as you want or as high as you want. You just want to make sure it still has a little point. So I like my French tips to be in the shape of a V, but instead of the point at the V, it's kind of rounded. It kind of looks like an almond nail inside of the French. Now I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the nail, and I'm just going to make sure my sidewalls are filled and my color is even. And you also want to make sure you're not putting too much gel polish on your brush, because you will take the shape off of your square nail. So after I filled in the nail, I'm going to turn the nail to my point of view, and I'm just going to make sure my smile line is not too much to one side or it's not too little. I'm just making sure everything is perfect. Then I'm just going to go ahead and take all of that gel polish that's on the sides, because I don't want it to ruin my shape. So we're going to do the same thing with the pinky. You're going to draw a diagonal line, and you kind of want to start the diagonal line in the middle of the natural nail, so your French tips are not too short but are not too long. Now I'm going to go ahead and start that smile line again, and you want to make sure your smile line is matching the length of the last nail you did, because you don't want to have inconsistent French tips. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the polish. Then again, I'm going to flip her nail, just making sure my smile line is even on both sides. Then I'm going to swipe the sidewalls, and I'm going to let her cure this. So I'm just giving y'all a closer look on how I do the French tips, because I know a lot of y'all probably can't see from the first angle. So just keep in mind everything that I told you before, and your French should look like mine. Now I'm just going in with a second coat of polish, just to make sure my color is dark and vibrant and it's all even. Now I'm using this teal color from Beetles, and I'm going to put this on the ring finger. So for my mint color, I just mixed a green and a white, and I'm about to put this on the pointer finger. Now I'm going to get my airbrush and I'm going to airbrush some colors onto the French tips. So on all the orange French tips, I airbrushed a hot pink on top. Then for the green French tips, I airbrushed blue onto them. Then for the blue, I airbrushed purple. Now I'm going to top coat all the nails. So my phone stopped recording, but I used those gold rhinestones and I put them in the middle of the nails and on the side of the nails. So wherever you see a gold charm, that's where I put it at. So for the acrylic flowers, you're just going to get a small bead and you're going to place it wherever you want the petal to start. Then hold your brush at an angle and start pressing in the middle of the petal. Make sure you don't press the back of the bead because you don't want to split the flower in half. You can also put acetone in your monomer so your petals can dry a little bit faster. It'll help speed up the process. So for the other fingers, I basically just followed the direction of the flowers. I did 3 petals on the side of them, and the only one that has 5 petals is the middle finger. Then I'm going in with my acrylic powder. I just grabbed a bright pink color, and I'm going to put this on the middle of the flower, and I'm also grabbing this blue color. Now I'm going to grab a tiny bead, and I'm going to put it in the center of each petal and just drag it out. You don't want your bead to be too wet because it's just going to run off of the petal. So have like a medium bead, and you don't want it to be too dry either. And then I'm doing this with the pink acrylic, and I'm just going to do the same thing. Grab a medium wet bead and drag it out onto the petal. And here's a view of all the nails. Then I'm going to go ahead and get my Mark Hard glue, and I'm just going to get a tiny drop of the glue and put it on my brush. And you want to make sure you put it on the end of the brush and it's kind of like dripping off. Then you're going to tap the drop onto the nail and then drag it out. You can view the droplet placement on this picture right here. This is how the nails turned out. If y'all want to see more videos, make sure y'all comment, like, and subscribe. And I'm going to catch y'all in the next tutorial. Bye, y'all.